Hello everybody, today I'm going to be tying a chocolate foam wing emerger. This is one of my go-to patterns for the blue-winged olive hatch. Blue-winged olives are actually really good swimmers, so when they're emerging to the surface, they are very prominent swimmers and they kind of sway back and forth in the water column, and that is what the foam wing on this fly emulates really well. So, super productive, very effective. Yeah, let's get into it. For the hook today, I am using the Tiemco 2499 SPBL in a size 16. A 16 is really more of a PMD. A 16 shows up easier on the camera. Really, I'd be fishing this in probably a size 20 or 22, maybe 18. But this does work as a PMD imitation too. So do what you like with that information. For thread, I am using some A-Dot uni thread in Camel, and I'm just going to attach that right behind the eye and then clip the tag. Now, the first material I'll be using is some pheasant. Now, you could use hackle fibers, India hen necks. You could really use whatever you want for this. It's not too important. I just like pheasant because it's cheap and easy to work with. So, yeah, there's my reasoning. So, select for a 16, obviously a lot more fibers than you would on a smaller fly, but I have quite a few there. Maybe a little too many, but I'm going to roll with it. And what I'm going to do before I tie these in, I'm just going to bring my thread back towards the bend. And you can see that's about how long I want the tail right there. So I'm going to give it a little more length though so that I can tie it in. And then pinch that down. And I'm going to take a loose wrap on those fibers. And what I can do is I can start working that down towards the bend. Making sure to keep that on top of the shank. It's not sliding around. Now, once you get them where you want them to be, you can come back up and clip those fibers. I'm going to take the hook out of my vise and flare those tailing fibers just to show you how long I like them. So, a pretty short tail. Yeah, it's not the most long tail ever. If you wanted to, you could tie this fly without a tail, and it could imitate a midge. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Once I do that, I'm going to make my rib. And for the rib, I'm using some small amber wire. You could use silver, gold, copper, really whatever you like. And on the smaller flies, I tie this in like a size 24 with some extra small wire, and it just didn't look right. I felt like it looked crowded, so I would just skip the wire if you're tying it on a size 24 or something. So just attach your wire and bring it down to where you tied in those tailing fibers. And then I'm going to resume back up to where I tied in that wire. Now, I'm going to use some rabbit dubbing with the guard hairs and everything. This is just in brown. Now, like I said, if I was tying this in a really small size 24, 22, I'd probably skip the dubbing. And if you were to skip the dubbing, maybe you'd want the wire. I would say on those smaller size hooks, you'd want to choose one. So you could either do the dubbing for the body or you could do the ribbing, but definitely not both. So once you do that, grab your dubbing, get a fair pinch of it, and just start dubbing onto your thread. You don't want it to be too shaggy. That's one thing about this rabbit dubbing. I like the way it looks. It gives a good like variable look in the fly, but it does not dub down too tightly. So if you're tying these flies in smaller sizes, you'd want to use super fine and like chocolate brown. So keep that in mind as well. So once you do that, I'm going to leave some room on my thread so that I can work my thread down to the bend before resuming back up to where I tied in that wire. And you can see that body's, the camera shows everything, but it's a pretty neat body. And once I do that, I can start ribbing this fly. You can also tie this fly in kind of an RS2 gray. It's pretty effective. However, I've always had more success on brown. Not sure why. I just like it more in brown. So once you do that, you can kind of helicopter your thread around your wire a couple times and bring that down. Oh, my thread broke. Disaster has struck. I'm not supposed to show this to you guys. Uh-oh. This is an emergency. Gotta act quickly. I've never broken my thread ever before in the history of my life. Okay, so I'm just going to cover up my thread again there. And I'm going to clip both tags since my thread broke. Okay, pretend that never happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to helicopter around that wire a couple times and bring it down onto the shank. Not applying too much pressure like I did before so that I don't break my thread again. So just pull on that wire. And once you do that, oh, my wire didn't break. It's weird. Use my scissors then. Okay, nothing's going to plan anymore. It's all going to shambles. Okay, now, where am I? So the next step is to grab some white razor foam. Now, something to note is that when you get a package of this razor foam, it comes with two sheets of 0.5 millimeter and 2 sheets of 1 millimeter. So you can see a difference. This one right here is the 1 millimeter. This one's the 0.5 millimeter. I'm going to use the 1 millimeter for this fly. So anything smaller than 18, I would probably be using that 0.5 millimeter. So I'm going to cut myself a little rectangular wing. You can see not too wide or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tee that up onto the top of the shank, making a little, almost like an RS2 wing. And I'm going to cover up that foam. Now is the last little bit, and that is just getting some more of that dubbing. Even on the small flies, you want dubbing here. It's never just a thread head. So the body, the dubbing is optional. The head is always dubbed. So get a nice little dubbing noodle, and I like kind of an extreme taper on this fly for the head. I like it to be really pretty chunky towards the wing, but then really kind of drop off quickly. And then I'm going to trim my wing, and it's a little on the long side. I'm going to trim it square, and then I'm going to knock off the corners to give it kind of a nice look. Oh, one more time. As you can see there, kind of an arrow. And once I do that, I can whip finish with my tool. And if you're using the rabbit dubbing, you're going to want to probably come through and kind of clean up those fibers with your scissors. Because you don't want the super long ones, but I do think some are nice, some of those guard hairs, but I don't like all of them to be in there. And there you have it. Your finished chocolate foam wing emerger. Great pattern, super effective. I hope you guys give it a try out on the water this spring when the betas are hatching. Thanks for watching, you guys, and tight lines. Have a good one.